the doorbell rings and you have the two butlers for the association. You have Niles, fake Niles, and real Niles. Also all attending to try to open the door. So all four of the men try to go open the door. And they all move at the same time. Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode.
Yes, welcome back, everyone. We're going on season 1, episode 6.
I can't believe we're already on episode 6.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Time is flying when you talk about shows.
Yes, especially shows that you love.
Indeed.
That's right. So season 1, episode 6. Episode 6 is titled The Butler, the Husband, the Wife, and Her Mother. And this is a take on The Crook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover, which is a 1989 crime drama art film.
Ah, I did not know that.
So they're very crafty with this title.
Yeah, that was a pretty good title.
Yep. I did not see this film, but apparently there were affairs, torture, and cooking people involved. So
Oh, I have some homework to do then.
lots of stuff going on in it. If you've seen the movie, let us know if it was a good one or not.
Yes, yeah. We need to catch up on it.
Yes. So this episode is probably my favorite by far. It was just absolute craziness going on in it. So what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, so far, this is definitely the best episode that we've watched, out of my opinion. Definitely very funny. All the takes of everything and how everyone has to play a different role than what they're used to. And yeah, everything was just kind of flipped upside down and chaos ensued, and it was enjoyable to watch.
It really was. I thought this was really neat. It was basically just like almost like a one take episode. Everything was just in the Sheffield house. So that was interesting. It seemed like one long scene, but one long really funny scene.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this one was definitely, I could watch this like 4 or 5 times in a row and still enjoy it.
And we were literally laughing out loud at a lot of the things that happened in this one. So
A real LOL.
a real LOL.
Yes.
LOL. Did you mean it?
Ha ha ha.
You meant it that time.
Yes, while watching the show.
While watching the show.
just
Not now, because that was a fake laugh.
Correct, yes.
For everybody listening, that was a fake laugh, okay?
Yes.
So
Not my real laugh.
Not his real laugh. Give us an example of what your real laugh sounds like.
If you had been there watching watching the episode, then you would have witnessed it.
That's true.
Not now.
Not now.
Maybe later in this episode.
Jinx.
Yeah.
So the brief description of this episode is when status-conscious relatives visit from Florida, Fran pretends that Niles is Maxwell and they are married.
Yes, yeah, they tried to pull a heist off with the Butler Association. But we'll jump into that.
Yeah, I can't wait to jump into it. It's really funny. So scene 1 starts off with Niles and he's trying to kill a poor mouse.
Yes.
How'd you think that the scene turned out?
Well, I mean, it's a mouse in the kitchen. It's a terrible place for a mouse to be. So sometimes you just have to eradicate it.
Not kill it, though. And also, that seems like a bad weapon. He was like holding up a spoon.
Yeah, a little spoon. Yes. I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know. I haven't tried to use that before.
Good. You could just capture it and let it out. That would be a good option.
Yeah. If you can capture it.
Could you put like a cup over it or a bowl or something?
They're very fast.
Yeah.
The way I get them out is I use a leaf blower. That works.
Oh.
Just blow them out.
So Niles should have had a leaf blower.
Yeah. You can snuff them out.
Yeah. Fran asks Niles why he's being so macho and like essentially why he's so worked up over this mouse. And she says it's unattractive yet a turn on. So she's like giving him a compliment, but also worried about him because he seems to be high strung. And he's high strung because of
The Butler Association
yes,
is coming to town.
Butler's Association is coming to town.
I don't want to get copyrighted. Let's go.
So Niles says that the inspectors from the Professional Butler Association are coming to observe him in his work, and they will decide whether or not he gets to become a member. So they get to actually stand and watch and evaluate him on everything he does.
Yes, so he's very nervous about this. They're coming. He is nervous about this, so we are starting to see his jitters in the beginning of this.
Yes, so this is very important to him. But Fran says, I thought you were joking because it just sounded so ridiculous. And then he looked offended, really offended when she said that. And she said, oh, I meant that in a profound way.
Yeah, I mean, because she's never had the butler's life or had those in her house, so she's probably not familiar. It sounds more of like a fairy tale land in her world. So,
And this is Niles' whole career, so it's very important to him.
yes, that it's his family history.
Yep.
His fathers and fathers before his father were all butlers, so it's a
That's right.
occupation passed down.
He said he came from a long line of butlers.
Yes.
Yep. He said all of the butlers in his family were members, so if he weren't to become a member, that would be kind of shameful.
Dishonorable to his family.
Yes. And he said his dad did get kicked out, though.
Yes, because he knocked over a vase.
Yes. Which his father was the butler to the Duke of Carlisle. Sounds very important.
Yes. I believe it's a place in England.
It should be.
But it's not.
And Fran said they kicked him out for knocking over a vase. How could they do that? And Niles said he was wrestling with the Duchess at the time.
Yeah, so he was being a little risque.
On the job.
Yeah, that's not a good place to do it.
Nope. So
it's appropriate reason why he loses his membership at this association.
can you imagine if he was being evaluated at the time that he was doing that?
No.
How'd they find out?
Probably because the master of the house came back.
Reported it.
Yeah.
They reported it. Oh. Mm-hmm.
Well, it would have been news, and I'm sure the association would have heard about it. So,
Breaking a vase, big news.
or having an affair with your master's spouse. That's pretty.
They were just
Headliner.
wrestling,
Yes, wrestling.
but they didn't have any clothes on, so I think that counts as an affair.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So that's how our first scene ends. So it's introducing us to the Professional Butler Association and everything that's about to go on in the next scene. So in this next scene, we see Maxwell coming in and he's wearing some sort of ridiculous looking outfit because he's wearing like a nice professional outfit with big yellow rain boots.
Wellies.
Yeah, he calls wellies. Have you ever heard that before?
I have not, but then we heard someone else say wellies, so I think it's a British thing, but it was news to me.
Yeah, so he said, I'm only wearing this because there's a chance of rain. And Fran says, there's a chance I'll fall out of this chair, but you don't see me wearing a seatbelt in this chair. In other words, like, this looks ridiculous. You're just wearing this because there's a chance of rain.
Yeah, I mean, the line was great. I thought that was a great line by Fran. It is a little more dramatic, but yeah, no, I thought it was a pretty funny comeback.
Yeah, that was pretty good on her part. So Maxwell tells Fran that he doesn't pay her to fashion consult. And again, we see a day off for Fran. They already did an episode where she had a day off too, but
It's the previous one.
Yeah. So she said, well, it's my day off. I just fashion consult on the side.
Which, I mean, she sold makeup or tried to sell makeup originally, so.
She's into fashion. That makes sense.
Yeah, and all
Yep.
her fashionable outfits during the show, so.
Yep. So she can't resist but to make comments to say, you used to look so GQ and now you look like Gordon's fisherman.
Yeah. Actually, the other day, I thought it was always Gordon's Fisherman. It's the frozen company that sells the seafood, the fish sticks.
Oh, yeah.
And I always thought it was Gordon's with a D, Fisherman. But then we actually just went to the store the other day, and I happened to see the
did?
bag. Yeah.
What is it?
And it's Gorton with a T. It's Gorton's Fisherman.
What?
Yeah. I see in the script they put Gordon, but I think I remember it as Gordon's, but maybe I just
Did
never.
they change it?
Well, so I looked it up to see if it was some weird thing, but the guy actually made it. It was called Slade Gorton's Fisherman Company or Slade Gorton's Company back in 1905, but it was Gorton. So
And
I think it's always been Gorton.
his last name
Yes, right.
is Gorton.
They changed it to like Gorton's Fisherman later, and
Oh,
but,
okay.
but it's always been Gorton though.
That's interesting.
But I've seen things that are Gordon.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't exactly know why there are ones with D's out there, but anyway, it's Gorton's Fisherman. But maybe I'm assuming this is what they're talking about.
Maybe it was too hard to say, or everybody's just used to saying Gordon for things that
Maybe, yeah.
they just refer to it as that.
That's what everyone thinks it is by default.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Anyway, yeah, I was gonna totally just say Gordon's Fisherman. Yeah, the fish stick company. But then I saw the bag the other day, and I was like,
Gorton's.
yeah, it threw my
Fisherman.
whole world into a upside down.
I can't believe it.
I'm devastated.
I'll be thinking about this for days. I won't be able to sleep tonight. Just kidding. But
Yeah.
if that threw you for a loop, let us know. For
Yeah,
sure.
did you know if it was Gordon's or Gortons?
Or Gortons.
Tango or Delta?
So Fran says, your son was just elected class president. Let's not embarrass him now. And she's worried that Maxwell's outfit will embarrass Brighton. And so she says, who are you, Billy Carter? Who's Billy Carter?
So Billy Carter is actually Jimmy Carter's brother.
Oh, really?
President Jimmy Carter. Yes. And apparently he was, like, they caught him a lot where he was, like, a drunk and he spewed out a lot with his mouth and couldn't know when to be quiet. And then they also saw him using the bathroom out by a bush.
What?
The press corps found him. So anyway, so
What?
he had basically all these things, I guess, to kind of hurt Jimmy's image.
Wow.
And he was the embarrassing brother. And so this is why they brought this reference into this.
Man, bad Billy.
Yeah. Yeah. Bad Billy.
Bad Billy. Wow. Okay, I had
Yeah.
no idea what they were talking about with that one.
Yeah. This required research.
Well, good job researching
Thank
it.
you.
He's a wizard at Google. So Brighton says, thank you. I am a crook. And Maggie says, well, she makes references that Maxwell wrote his speeches, came up with his campaigns, like did all of the work behind the scenes to get Brighton this big win at his school. So how could Brighton bask in all the glory of this if his father did everything for him, essentially?
Yeah. Maggie never believed it one bit.
Nope. And Brighton said, well, he's my Hillary. Like, he's the one supporting me. I guess Hillary... Did Hillary... I was trying to look this up. Like, did Hillary write all of Bill Clinton's speeches? And was Hillary, like, the voice behind Bill Clinton sometimes? I know she helped out a lot, but...
I think that's, what they're... I didn't know.
Sounds
I
like
couldn't
it.
find anything,
I
but I,
couldn't
feel
find
like I've
anything
heard
either.
something about that before.
Me too.
So
But Google was not helpful in
Yeah.
this one.
I'm recalling on some of my old gray cells in my brain, but I
Wow.
don't know. I'm assuming yes.
Yeah, so we can assume that. So Maxwell goes on and says, did I happen to tell you I was president at my House of Eaton? And he keeps saying that, but then he keeps saying, oh, but it's your victory and we're very proud of you. So I think it's just Maxwell trying to live through Brighton and repeat his glory days.
Well, yeah, and I think he wants Brighton to be as successful as he was as a young lad and to be able to bask in all the glory that he did. So
Right.
he wants a repeat of that for Brighton to, because it made him happy. So he assumed maybe it would have Brighton be happiness as well.
Yeah, just follow in his footsteps and he'll be happy.
Yeah.
So I looked up Eton and Eton College. I think that's what they're referring to as a public school in England in Berkshire. And
Uh-huh.
it was founded in 1440, so a long time ago. And it's a boys only school, and it's been that way. It's like a tradition. And there's 25 different houses in the school. So I guess Maxwell's saying like one of those houses, he was the president of houses like dormitories.
Right.
So yeah, and it's still going on today.
Wow. You should ask them if anyone remembers Maxwell.
Yeah. Anyone remembers Maxwell as the president? And I wonder what year that would have been for him. Like 70s or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
that's a stretch.
So all the kids are going with Maxwell to a museum and they're about to head out for the day. So they're going to see the German Expressionist show at the Met, which sounds very fancy. And did you know what German Expressionism is?
No.
Me either. So it's an early 12th century German art movement. And the artist in this time period focused a lot on different things, such as just focusing on just how reality can be bended, different shapes and images and bright colors and large brush strokes and things like that. And I think Gracie holds up her face and does like the scream image. And she's like, I can't wait to see this image there at the museum. So a lot of just striking images around that time.
Okay.
Should be fun.
That's something else I'll have to look into.
Yep. We could go to a museum.
Yeah. A German expression.
Yes.
Oh, probably just some art museum.
Yeah, that will work too. Yep,
Yeah.
that'll work.
I'm sure they'll have the German expression era in it.
They should. So the reason they're going is to celebrate Brighton's victory. And Brighton says there's just a fine line between reward and punishment in this house. So I'm not too sure it was Brighton's idea to go to the museum to celebrate this.
Yeah. That's not his idea of fun.
Nope.
Or reward.
It's probably just Maxwell's idea of fun. And he's bringing along all the kids for an educational purpose.
Yes, to culture them.
Yes, which is nice. So Maggie asks Fran, what are you doing on your day off? And Fran says, well, I can tell you what I'm not doing. I am not going to be sitting down and talking with my uncle Jack and cousin Marcia, who are visiting from Boca now. And then she goes to explain how Jack is always constantly trying to one-up Sylvia, her mother, just throughout his whole entire life. And then Marcia is the same way. So she's constantly trying to help him one-up everything just in their lives. They kind of throw it back in Sylvia's face. And some things they said. So Fran says, we bought a Skylark, which is a Buick. Did you know that? Did you know a Skylark is a Buick?
No, I don't remember that model.
I had to look this up. So she says, we bought a Skylark. He bought an Eldorado, which is a Cadillac.
I do know that one.
Mm-hmm. And then she said, we moved to Flushing. He moved to Florida. And she said, I'm telling you, you can never win. So basically, Sylvia can never win in this situation. And then Fran remembers, oh yeah, one time she won because she grew a mustache faster than him. Which, did you catch on to that line?
Yeah, but I don't count that as a
win moment.
It's probably the opposite, but maybe she's just trying to view anything as a better
as
opportunity.
A win. Yep.
Yes, yeah.
Desperate to view something as a win.
Right.
That's a good point. So this scene ends with Niles coming down after Maxwell and the kids leave, and he has a giant gift basket, and it's full of caviar, and apparently it's from Lauren from the theater, who's gifting a big caviar gift basket to Maxwell. And then Fran and Niles decide to partake in eating of the caviar, even though the gift is not for them. And Fran says, why don't you go write the thank you note? So they took this as a good opportunity for them to enjoy Maxwell's gift.
Yeah, Niles opens it up. Fran writes the card, and then they
eat.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a word that just didn't come into my mind. Better than eat. Yes, they indulge.
Indulge. That's a good one.
They
Yeah.
indulge in Maxwell's
gift.
Free gift.
That's
without
great.
his approval.
without his approval
Yeah.
and without any thought that they should ever tell him. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
While he's away, they assume they could eat it all and hide the evidence before they return.
Yep. But we'll see later. This may backfire.
Will it?
Will it? Stay tuned. So in this next scene, we see Sylvia and she comes over and starts talking to Fran about Jack and Marcia. And she says she just got out of her lunch with Jack and Marcia. And Jack is just going on and on and on about Marcia. And then she goes into this whole spiel here, which we see her New York accent really come out one of these times as she says Marcia. So she says, it was just about Marcia. Marcia and her doctor husband. Marcia and her 4-carat solitaire. Marsher. This is this line where she goes, Marsher and her beachfront property right next to Dan Marino. Did you hear how she said Marcia, and then there was like a slip or something, and she goes Marsher and her.
No, I don't remember that.
That was like the funniest part about this scene to me. Just like a big New York accent comes out, like putting the in the
Right.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't remember that, but that's funny.
We got to go back and watch that. That was really funny. So, did you know who Dan Marino is?
Yeah, he's some football guy. I think he
Yes.
was with the Dolphins, I think, if I remember right.
For 17 seasons, the Miami
Oh.
Dolphins.
I didn't know that long.
Yep.
But,
Played in the National Football League.
yeah. I mean, I've heard his name tossed around.
I have never heard his name, so I'm more like Fran because she says, who is Dan Marino? And Sylvia says, how should I know?
Well, it makes sense, too, because Jack and Marcia are from Miami,
Right.
So,
he's probably big there.
well, yeah, since
I mean, big
plays
in
football,
other
but-
places, but
yeah,
very well known there. So it's a big thing to them
yeah.
to brag about. So Sylvia says, anyway, I was just about to scream when they asked me about you. So I told them you eloped with a rich Broadway producer and you're living in a palace on the Upper East Side. So Sylvia has resorted to lying about her daughter here.
Yeah, I think she's sick of hearing all these things, and then she just finally has to try to. She just lashes out by making up a little fib here and
A little bit.
yeah,
I think she just like exploded at this point and she's like, well,
yeah,
I just said all these crazy things about you. And Fran first looks horrified and then she says, but you forgot the butler. So she like wants to add to Sylvia's lie.
yeah. Right. She's okay with this, and it's a way to stick one over them and
Yep.
have at it.
So Fran says, oh, were they just crushed when they found out? And Sylvia says, well, you should have seen the looks on their faces. And Fran says, yeah, I would have liked to see that, to have seen that. And then Sylvia says, oh, well, you can see it now. And Fran was like totally okay with this lie as long as she wasn't involved in socializing with them. So,
Right, and also actually making it a reality.
yes. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's easy to talk the talk, but can you walk the walk?
Exactly. So then she's really horrified and she says, what happened? And Sylvia says, yes, I invited them over to the house just to take a look so we could just kind of throw it in their faces and they'll be here any minute. And this is just what Fran did not want to do on her day off.
Yeah, she doesn't want to have to sit here and. Well, yeah, exactly. Like she said in the episode earlier. I don't want to. I will not be talking with my Uncle Jack and cousin Marcia.
I will not be talking with them. And
little
here
did
she
she
is.
know.
Yeah. In 5 minutes' time, she would be talking with them.
Yeah.
So Fran is kind of reluctant to participate in this. And she's having issues with it. And she's like, oh, I don't know. And then she answers the door. And already Jack and Marcia are just so unpleasant to her that she just like really has a lot of fire to participate and like pretend this lie is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So the first things that they say to her, they say, so you caught a husband? Thank God you're not an old maid anymore. Which is pretty insulting.
Yeah. Well, and I think this also is part of the really what gets her riled up to play
participate.
the whole because then it's just all right then.
It's just like, okay, well, yeah, whatever. I'm going to just
Welcome to
through
my
with this.
sweet fake life.
Yep. So Sylvia says she's living like Siegfried and Roy.
Yes. Siegfried and Roy.
Yeah.
Those are German-American magicians. I did not know who these people
Ooh.
were, but they performed a bunch together. They had a house called the Jungle Palace,
Wow.
which was this big elaborate mansion. It's like 8,000 plus square feet.
Wow.
That was very jungle themed because that was a lot of their main. They worked with tigers a lot with their magician acts, so that was their big
Okay.
jungle themed people. So, and actually, their house just sold last year for $3 million.
Whoa.
They also had during one of their acts, they had one of the tigers actually attacked them, and so that was a big scary thing. But
Did they stop performing after that?
no, they just loved it so much. But yes, that is the German-American magicians.
So Jack and Marcia are just inspecting the house and trying to look to make comments about it. And they say, this is not bad. How many square feet? And then Jack says, yes, ours is 3,800. And then Fran is quick to respond and she says, this is 38,000 square feet. Which, how big would your house have to be 38,000 square feet?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a house on Zillow for 38,000. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, 3,800 is already a huge house, so, but even the mansions are generally like 8,000 to 10,000 square feet.
Gosh.
So, yeah, 38,000 is a little very out of reality, but
And they look shocked, like they really don't believe it. And she just explains, oh, the upstairs is enormous.
yeah.
Huge.
Well, and I feel like you two kind of have these holes in their whole playful thing here. You kind of see this is kind of the first hole. It seems like, where it's more just they're just doing it
To get back at each
yeah,
other.
right.
Yeah.
This is kind of the first one, and the Jack kind of looks like
Secretly, he knows.
I don't think. Yeah, there's no way this is 38,000. But
Yeah, that's a good point. So they say, oh, well, thanks for coming. Normally I'd put out a spread, but the butler is off today. So Fran is like sure to mention the butler.
right, to enable her sophistication in society.
That's right. So Fran says, I'm sure you guys have to leave and like it's about time you get to go and I don't want you to be late for your flights. And they say, oh, that's not a problem. We can adapt and we can leave at any time, but we don't want to leave before we meet your husband. And then Fran says, oh, you want to meet Mr. Sheffield? And they go, what, you call your husband Mr. Sheffield? And then she says, oh, it's like kind of like a nickname, like a Sheffy. And then Sylvia chimes in because she's really trying to help with this lie. And she goes, Chef Boyardee. And then Fran goes, stay out of my private life, Mom.
Yeah, that was.
They're just building and building and building on this lie.
Yeah, which also I think we should try that. You can call me Mr. Moran instead of
Mr. Moran.
Yeah.
Moran.
Yeah.
Chef Boyardee.
Chef Morardi.
Morardi. So Sylvia then says, well, he's rehearsing Sunday in the Park with George, which is a play. And she says, so he won't be home till Monday. And Fran just looks at her in disbelief, like that's so ridiculous. But Sunday in the Park with George is an actual play.
Oh, okay.
1983 musical.
Oh.
Yep. But Sylvia's trying to be witty and she's trying to say, since it's Sunday in a park, he won't be home till Monday. So you'll not catch him this time.
Which is another kind of this weird thing because she asks, like, do you even live on this planet? What planet are you from?
She like can't believe what's coming out of Sylvia's mouth at this point.
Yeah, because the lie is just ridiculous.
So they say, Aunt Sylvia, you're such a kidder. We'll just wait until he comes home. And then Niles walks in. And then Fran pretends Niles is Mr. Sheffield.
Yeah, which is a pretty quick wit to be able to kind of play that off.
Yeah.
Especially how quick she has to basically get him involved in understanding what the heck is even going on right now.
Super fast.
Yeah.
Would you say this is a finesse moment?
It was.
Fran finds finesse
So Fran goes up to Niles and just says, "Honey, you're home." And then Niles goes, "Beg your pardon." And she goes, "Well, that rehearsal went really quick," and goes in for a hug. And this is when she goes to try to whisper and explain the whole setup to see if he'll go along with it. So she says, "These are my relatives from Boca. You're Mr. Sheffield. I'm your wife, and we're deliriously happy together."
Yeah, which was funny. And then Niles, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Which is like the laugh from the one episode where he's prim and proper. But
Yes. Ah, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Mouth closed.
yes.
He looks reluctant to participate in this at first, and he says this is a very big ask. And Fran says, "Well, if you help me, I will not tell Maxwell about that big crack in the vase that you did." So then that's when he turns around and he puts on his big fake laugh and pretends he's Mr. Sheffield.
Yeah. And it finally introduces himself as him. And
Mr. Sheffield, producer. And then Jack goes, "Jack Norman, realtor." And then Niles goes up to Sylvia and he asks who she is. And she goes, "Your mother-in-law." And he says, "Oh, my mother-in-law." He's acting like it's his first time meeting her because it is his first time meeting her because he hasn't met her at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna see if you picked up on that. Yeah, this was in the show. This is the first time they actually
Like a genuine first
Right.
encounter with each other.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of clever how they played that off.
And he goes, "Oh, right. Of course, I was drunk at the wedding." And he says, "How are you, mumsy?" And then he pretends they're all close.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
Which is like another crack in their
Their story.
Yeah.
'Cause he's genuinely saying, "Oh, nice to meet you.
Right.
I'm your mother-in-law." "Oh, yeah, of course." So Jack tries to talk to Niles and he says, Max. And then Niles isn't responding because that's not his name. But then he goes, "Oh, that's me, yes." And Jack says, "Is business very good?" And Niles says, "Oh, yes, of course. It's just too good. All this business is just too good. But I curse every moment that I'm away from my wonderful bride, Fran." And then he compliments her a whole bunch. "She's my center, my compass, the light of my life. Sorry, sometimes I just get too swept up in the magic that is Fran." So he's really going along with this lie.
Yeah. Well, and it's something like this all over the top, which maybe, I guess, because they're trying to play it off like they're freshly married, but
And he
it's
wants
like this
to
very honeymoonish phase.
really impress her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Marcia starts asking about the kids. And then she says something like really insulting, like, "Oh, well, they're just, your kids, Maxwell, not Fran's, because they aren't the fruit of her womb."
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
that's really
That's a pretty
insulting
deep stab.
to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that was unkind.
That was very unkind. So this like further fuels them
Right.
into delivering more lies.
Oh, also I wanted to mention with Niles when he's kind of infatuated with Fran, or Mr. Sheffield.
Mr. Sheffield.
Infatuated with Fran. He used the word hobnob, and I've
Oh, he
never
did?
heard hobnob before, so I had to look it up.
What does that mean?
But because he said, "Of course, I hobnob with the rich and famous,"
Oh.
which it means mixed socially, especially those of higher social status.
Wow.
So,
I didn't
yeah.
even pick up on that.
yeah, I was wondering. I was like, "What the heck did he say there?" So,
Hobnob.
yeah. So sometimes I
Huh.
hobnob around. But yeah, anyway,
He hobnobs with the rich and famous.
yeah, I've just never heard that before. So.
I also think Niles is really enjoying acting like Maxwell because he kind of wishes he was in Maxwell's profession sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he totally would just like love to act rich and
Oh, yeah.
all the royalty and just ha ha ha. Yeah.
So he's having a blast doing this,
Yeah.
really, I think.
Yeah.
So they tell Marcia that the kids are at the museum. And then Marcia says, "At the museum by themselves in this city? Like, how could you do that?" Like, passing a judgment on Fran. And Fran says, "Oh, they're not by themselves. They're with the butler."
But I thought it was his day off, is how they respond.
Oh, yeah.
So it's another crack in the lie.
His day off. It's his day off, but guess what? It's Butler's day at the museum. Bring a butler and get a free beverage. And they're all puzzled. They say they've never heard of that before, but okay, sure. Yeah, Butler's day.
Well, right, they come up with the excuse. She first tries to reach to Mr. Sheffield.
Mr. Sheffield.
Where she wants him to come up with the excuse, but he's like, "I can't wait to hear."
Oh,
totally
yeah.
throwing the bus under the bus with the excuse. But she comes up with
So
that.
she had to do that all by herself. She got no
Yeah,
help.
yeah.
I can't
Just
wait to hear.
totally no idea for a response.
So this is when we see the two gentlemen from the Professional Butler Association show up at the front door unannounced. And then Niles, his eyes get super wide when they come through the door. And they say, "Hey, we're from the Professional Butlers Association, and we're here to observe Niles right now." So Niles was not expecting them to come at that current moment
Yes, they came a day early, and
because it's their practice.
yes, to throw the person off guard.
That's right.
And to find them in their natural element
That's right.
versus the expected element.
Which makes sense. It's still around the time frame.
Yeah, yeah. It's a valid strategy.
Yep. So I was very intrigued by the Professional Butler Association and tried to look it up, and I couldn't find that exactly, but I found that there's a Guild of Professional English Butlers, which is kind of the same thing, where it's like a club that you
Oh.
can join in England, and you have to be a butler to join for a certain amount of years. And I think, yeah, they're reviewed on a year-to-year basis, and you have to have at least 5 years or more of employment as a butler, and you have to submit every single year to still be enrolled. And there's like certain perks and benefits to being involved in this association. Like you get first dibs on jobs that come out, and you get to like talk with all the professional butlers about what they're doing in their butlery life. And
Wow.
it's just like a club for everybody to get together and talk about their profession.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that would be fun. I feel like I would want to join if I was a butler
Yeah, maybe I'll switch occupations here.
and go be an experienced butler. You have to be experienced
Right. I need 5 years of experience.
to
For
become at least 5 years of experience.
Wow.
And the 5 years of experience can be as a butler or a similar position in a hotel, in a cruise ship, in a yacht, in a private household. Those are your options. So
Yeah, so I've got quite a few options then.
yeah, you can go join a cruise ship and be a butler.
Yeah. I've got plenty of options.
And then a bunch of people, just like those two people we saw, sit and evaluate your application every year.
Oh, they come see you live. Wow.
Yep. Well, I don't know if they'll come see you live, but they'll definitely look at your references and your job history and things like that.
Reach out to the master of the house.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to put them as your reference.
Yeah.
So Fran is thinking that they should just leave and come back another day. And then Niles says, "Oh, wait, that's not good if they come back another day." Because now they've already associated him. He's introduced himself as like Maxwell, and everybody thinks he's Maxwell, including these two men from the association. So if they come back, they're going to say, "Why is the head of the household being the butler?" It doesn't make any sense. So Niles says they cannot go away. They just have to come in at this point, which makes things even crazier. So what'd you think about them just coming in the house anyway?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it made sense. I mean, there's really no point in trying to do a different day. You might as well
Just come in.
You might as well just do it at that time.
So this is like quick acting too, because what the heck are they going to do? And then they say, "Oh, well, it's his day off, but we'll talk to you all about Niles." Fake Maxwell and Fran will talk to them about Niles. And Jack says, "Well, we're surprised you two aren't at the museum right now for Butler's Day." And they're both confused because they've never heard of this before either.
Yeah, it was. Are you both butlers? Are you two butlers?
Yeah.
We are.
We are.
Yeah, I don't know. The way they phrased that was pretty funny, but
Why aren't you at the museum? So Fran is very stressed, and she asks Sylvia for Rolaids, which is antacid. Talk to us about Rolaids and antacid. Is that for like an upset stomach or like nerves or heartburn?
Yeah, mainly heartburn or upset stomach.
Yep.
I've never used them.
If you've used them and you endorse them,
I
let
use
us
a different brand. So.
What brand do you use? We're all interested to hear about this.
I use Gaviscon.
And why do you recommend that brand?
It's just what my dad used.
Wow. Thanks, Dad.
It's a long line of Gaviscon users.
It sounds like a strong, like muscular antacid pill.
I mean, there is the picture of a guy.
Is that why?
Flexing.
Because he's flexing on the
Yeah, which I don't really
bottle.
understand that. He's flexing because he no longer has stomach pain. I don't know.
and heartburn.
Yeah.
It's for strong men. Gaviscon. It sounds like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. That's why I'm thinking like of a strong person.
Yeah.
So that's great. So you and your dad would definitely recommend that over Rolaids.
I don't know about that, but
You should be a spokesperson for Gaviscon.
I haven't tried enough.
You and your dad can make a commercial and just talk about how generations have used this antacid for
Yeah.
decades.
It comes from a long line of upset stomach people. Just like Niles with his Butler. Like,
That's right. So then, to make all matters worse, Maxwell comes back after 20 minutes of being out at the museum and the kids, and it's like storming outside. And he says, gosh, they just closed the museum because of a bomb threat. Can you believe that? And then Maxwell walks in with the kids, and then he throws his coat to Niles, who doesn't pick it up. So then Fran says, well, I'd like you all to meet Niles, our butler, and points to Maxwell.
Yeah, which this was interesting because, this is where they do the cutscene, but I would kind of love to see
More of
the
Niles
reaction.
Maxwell's reaction.
Yeah, or even how the other people would have seen it. And anyway, yeah, that would have been.
I know. That's a good point. Fran and Niles are trying to explain to Maxwell in private in his office now. They're just trying to explain everything that's going on. So Maxwell says, I just leave this house for 20 minutes and I come back to some bizarre parallel universe. You're me, I'm you, and you're married to her. And then he points to Fran. And then they ask Maxwell, please go along with it. Because of Fran's family and because of Niles, now they have two things riding on this whole giant lie and scheme that they have going on with Fran's family. And then now Niles and his membership to the Professional Butler Association. So two different things riding on this. Please help us. Because, oh yeah, it would just put shame on Niles' family name. They talk about this again.
Right, yeah. But then also Fran asks, what is your family name? Which he just says, it's just Niles. Like Cher.
Which is really funny. He just goes by that name and we never know anything else about him.
Yeah, apparently he has no family name.
Just Niles.
So I guess all his dads were named Niles. I don't know.
His dad and his granddad and
Yeah. I guess the women as well. They're just all named Niles.
the women. Just Niles.
Yeah.
They all went by Niles. Just like Cher. So Maxwell's iffy on whether or not that he's going to participate in this whole thing and pretend that he's a butler, something he could never imagine himself doing. But then the kids beg him to, like, please, come on, Fran and Niles do so much for us every day. Like, just pretending you're Niles for one afternoon couldn't hurt.
Yeah, but he's still kind of on the edge. He still doesn't really want to, I think because he thinks that he can hold a higher moral standard than them to not stoop down at this level, and he wants to keep his integrity, so
yes,
he will not stoop down to such frivolous games.
And I think that Gracie just wants him to do this so she can boss her dad around a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. And Brighton for sure.
Oh, yeah. And Maggie is going to enjoy this too, as we will see. So Brighton says this is what we call domestic gridlock, and he tries to use his new found presidency to talk political terms here.
Yes. Yeah, he tries to say there's a difference between the House and the executive branch. But then this also points to, we'll find out a little bit later, but that he doesn't exactly know his stuff because the House and the executive don't interact like that.
Yeah.
So he should have said something like the House and the Senate, or the executive and the legislative
Good
don't
point.
make sense or something. So, which Maggie calls him kind of out on this, but
Yep. So he clearly doesn't really know what he's talking about. But then he says, what we need here is a compromise. And Maxwell says, okay, to Niles and Fran, if you can pull it off, fine, but I'll have no part in it. And then we cut, they're back in the living room, and Marcia and Jack are sitting there, and Maxwell comes into the living room and he's acting like he's going up the stairs. And then Jack says to Maxwell, can I have a drink? And he still is heading up the stairs, not listening, but he's supposed to be the butler in this situation. And then Niles guilts him. Well, it's a it's a thing where we've just been together for many years, many, many years. And then he looks at Maxwell to see if he's going to start being the butler. And then he said, it's a question of loyalty. And then Fran chimes in and she goes, and friendship. And Marcia then makes fun of Fran. And then that's what gets Maxwell to come down the stairs and act like the butler. So she says something about Fran and how she's bad or something. So maybe it's just the combination of Niles and Fran there.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's kind of this whole thing. Apparently, this family just really irks everybody they come in contact with because Fran wasn't on board until they made a comment, and now
Maxwell's not on board until
they make a comment. So.
But about Fran, which means he really cares for Fran because you would think that Niles would put him over the top alone.
Yeah, right. With their family ties and previous fathers working together. So, yeah.
Yeah. So then Maxwell comes back down the stairs, and in such an outstanding moment, he says, will that be crushed ice or cubed? So he's agreeing to get the drink.
Yes. Now, this is weird. Also, I want to mention, it was weird how the kids were just following him all around. I didn't really understand this. They followed him up the stairs, and then when he came back down the stairs,
it's like they're attached to him.
Yeah.
They went into his office and sat, and then they were following him up the stairs.
Yeah.
Maybe they were going to go up the stairs too, go to their rooms.
Yeah, but then he goes down, and they follow it, and then they
don't
follow
want to
him
miss
back
this.
in the living room, I guess. Yeah.
Their dad is a
true.
butler. They don't want to miss this, and this is what they've been dying for this whole time.
Yeah, I guess if he wasn't going to participate, they weren't going to
participate either. Yeah. So then Brighton is so shocked by this, and he goes, yes, that's my dad. And then he goes, daddy yo, that I call my little butler sometimes or something, because it's not his dad anymore. It's Niles the butler.
Yeah.
And Maxwell apologizes, and he says, well, the bomb scare must have rattled my nerves a little bit, talking about the museum. So Fran says he's just been a wreck ever since all that unpleasantness in the Falklands, which, do you know what she's talking about here?
No, I did not.
Apparently, there was the Falklands War, which was a 10-week undeclared war between Argentina and the United Kingdom in 1982 over 2 British dependent territories in the South Atlantic. And the British task force had 127 ships here. So, yeah. So then the 2 men are watching all of this from the Professional Butler Association, and they say, oh, you saw action too. What ship were you on? To Maxwell. Like he was actually in the war and on one of those ships.
Right. Yeah.
And then he says, the other one. Clearly, he was not part of that war.
Yeah, but I guess these guys were, so.
Yeah, which is interesting. So this is when we see the kids truly try to take advantage of Maxwell being Niles, the butler. And Gracie asks for some ice cream, and Maggie asks for soda, and Brighton says he wants ice cream in his soda and a round of Oreos. And Maxwell says, well, your father probably wouldn't approve of all these sweets so close to dinner time. And then Gracie goes up to Niles, who she calls Daddy, and she says, Daddy, please, can we have this? And then Niles goes, just this once. Sure. Because he wants to see Maxwell go and make all these desserts.
Yeah, I guess that makes more sense of why. I was going to say, I would think if he finally helped me or is actually going to play the role of it, I would think he would be like, no, not this, be more like him to try to stay
be
on his
stern.
good side. Yeah, so he would continue playing the
I could
part.
see that way too. But I think he just wanted nothing more than to see Maxwell struggle trying to put together some ice cream and Oreos and drinks and everything in the kitchen.
Yeah, everyone wants to see him do all the work now for once.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, he has to act like a butler. These two men are watching him, so he can't just stand around and do nothing, too.
That's true. Yeah.
So the men from the Butlers Association, they follow Maxwell in the kitchen to watch him prepare all these things.
Well, yeah. I thought that was it's like I don't know. Everyone's like following Max around in this episode.
Yeah,
So
everybody.
The kids and now the Butler guys are going around.
He can't catch a break here.
Yeah. Got, like an whole entourage all the time.
All the time, constantly. So Maxwell disappears in the kitchen. He gets everything ready, and then he's carrying a gigantic tray out, and it has the drinks and the food and everything on it. And then Maxwell trips big time and almost drops everything, but catches himself. And then we see Fran, and she's just laughing out of control here because this whole situation has just gotten absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. But I thought it was funny because the props, I didn't see the drinks move at all when he was like falling. So obviously they weren't.
And there were a lot
real
of drinks on that tray.
Yeah.
And they all looked like white, like they were milk or something.
No, it looked like lemonade.
Or was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I know they looked light in color, but
Yeah. Looked like lemonade, which is weird because then it looked like he didn't bring out anything related to like Oreos and milk or anything like that. So
yeah, I didn't see those.
Different. Well, I guess because the other people would have probably wanted something more like lemonade.
Yeah, so I got the
kids.
Maybe I thought there were snacks on that tray. Now I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah,
and
there was. I don't know what they were, but
didn't look like Oreos or ice cream.
Square things to represent that. No.
So maybe it was he was bringing out the adult stuff first, and then he was gonna go back for the kids stuff. So after Fran is laughing out of control, the doorbell rings, and then Maxwell says, "Well, he's the butler. I'll get it." And then they're all wondering who it is because everybody's already in the living room. But now we see it's Brighton's friend, and he's coming to invite Brighton to the party for winning the election, but not Brighton's election.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, right before they open the door, I wanted to mention, Fran mentions that everyone I know is here, which makes no sense because she constantly has all these crazy stories about all her crazy family.
And Val's
from
not there.
all over the place.
Morty's not there. Danny's not there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that she...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I thought that was... But then we find a little bit later she'll mention somebody else, which then... But, yeah, this was kind of an interesting comment on her part.
Yeah, that is weird. Everybody I know is right here.
Right.
Maybe everybody I know at the current moment is right here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
None of these other people are coming to mind, so...
Yeah. So here's everybody.
Yeah.
So Brighton's friend says, it's the least I can do, invite you to the inaugural party because I slaughtered you in the election. So now we find out that Brighton lied about winning the presidency in this election. And Maxwell's very concerned, which also makes Jack and Marcia concerned as to why the butler is very concerned about Brighton's lie here. And the butlers are very confused with him being the butler and being so actively involved in like the daily activities of the kids. So that's not good.
Yeah, it does look a little a little strange.
He immediately goes up to him and consoles him and tries to figure out why. But a butler wouldn't be doing that. A father would be doing that. So then we cut to the kitchen and it's Fran, Maxwell, and Brighton, and they're all talking about this.
Yeah, but wait a second. Actually, I just had a crazy idea.
What?
This could totally be because it's like how Niles' father was having an affair with his masters. Maybe secretly they could think that these are Niles' kids, the butler's kids, instead of...
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
But then they'd be looking to ban him from the society all together.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like his papa.
Yeah.
That's a deep thought.
Anyway, yeah.
So Maxwell says he overall just wants Brighton to be himself. Like he knows he's gone on and on about his time as president back in his day. But he says, what kind of parent would ultimately want their child to pretend that they're something that they're not? And then this has Fran thinking, like, oh, like my mom. How about that? Because my mom is the one who started all of these lies here. So then Fran knows what she has to do. She wants to go ahead and set the record straight. Just tell everybody that it was one big lie and come out with the truth. That's the right thing to do. So And as she's deciding this, Sylvia's in the living room telling even more lies to Marcia and Jack. So she says, oh, sure, they got their own Lear jet. They flew me to Pennsylvania for a Hershey. Like, so they're just flying Sylvia out to places on a whim. And to have your own Lear jet, I looked up how much previously like used Lear jet is. And it's $2.5 million to own one right now.
Wow.
Right now. I don't know what it was back then, but
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a giant, outrageous lie. So Fran just says, that's enough, Mom. And then she says, you were just like this with Perot, which I'm assuming she means Ross Perot, who ran for the Independent Party and got 19% of the vote.
Yeah, I guess.
But I don't really know what the reference is about.
Right.
So if you know what that's about, please let us know, because that's another one that was difficult to look up.
Yeah, it was a peculiar one.
Mm-hmm. So Fran says, hey, everybody, I am not married. This is not my house. And I am the nanny, and I work for, and then she says, Mr. Sheffield. And she points to Niles because she still has to keep up that lie because of the Professional Butler Association men.
Right.
And then Marcia says, she's just a nanny. Did you hear that? She's just a nanny. And then Maggie says, who asked you anyway, you big green cow? Because she's wearing like this outrageous like jumper outfit, and it's all big and green. And Fran says, Maggie, like she's acting like it. She's so ashamed of her. And then she says, it's turquoise. She's just ashamed that she got the color wrong.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. Which I think she's actually proud of Maggie for sticking up for her.
Yeah, I mean, it shows at least that the kids have grown respect for her and they want to defend her if she's being attacked. So
yeah, which is nice. So Maxwell comes to the defense here of Fran, and Maxwell says she's made the house more chaotic, louder, but he hasn't seen the kids and Mr. Sheffield, because he's still Niles, so happy for a very long time. And then Fran is so touched by this. She goes, thank you, Mr. Niles. But do you think this is a dapper daddy moment because he's confused and he also says some insults?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it shows his appreciation for Fan and maybe some deeper feelings there, since he's willing to really stick up for her here. So
that's true.
I would say so.
That's our dapper daddy.
With his dating debacles.
Dating debacles. So, the Professional Butler Association men say that it's quite inappropriate for a butler to be saying these things. And Niles then chimes in and says, I'm the master of the house. I'll decide what's appropriate here. And then he says, I like a little bit of sentiment among the servants.
Yeah, I thought this was really funny. It kind of just shows that, mainly too, that Niles is kind of trying to play to his advantage too, that if it's allowed in the house and the master wants it, then it would make sense for the butler to be
right
so involved. So it kind of helps defend his case to
it
be
helps.
a part of the association. So
yep. So Sylvia says she wouldn't train Fran for all the marshes in Miami, and then ushers Marcia and Jack away from the house. And then the two men say, okay, you know, Niles, you've been accepted into the Professional Butler Association, and you know, despite all the craziness, we still accept you. And Maxwell says, I think I'm rather touched, because they're talking to him. And then the thing that ruins everything is the doorbell ringing, which, tell us what happens when the doorbell rings, first of all.
yeah, this is a great scene where the doorbell rings and you have the two butlers from the association. You have Niles, fake Niles, and real Niles. Also all attending to try to open the door. So all four of the men try to go open the door.
Because
they
they're
all
butlers.
move at the same time. Yeah, how they moved them all at the same time perfectly. Like, that was great. Yeah,
that was the funniest. That was so funny.
Yeah.
And then I think Fran just says, I'll get it, because this is too much pressure for butlers trying to step forward and answer the door.
Yeah.
And then Cece comes through the door, which Cece has no idea what's going on at all. So she's just here to destroy everything.
Yeah, so this is where Cece walks in, and then she talks to Max, who's fake Niles, and she says, we got the deal. It's everything great. So then he gets all excited, which then this really confuses the butlers because the butler is getting excited about this Broadway deal, or these investors,
But then Niles chimes in because Niles is saying, "Oh, that's very interesting news. Like, thank you so much, Cece, for saying that." Because Niles is supposed to be Maxwell here.
right. He says, "Oh, this is wonderful news," and then that's when Cece's like, "What the heck is going on? Why are you playing as Niles to Max and vice versa?"
Yeah,
So
and what do you care, Niles, that we secured that
Yeah.
theater that we needed? And this is how they all find out that it's a lie. They find out Niles is Niles and Maxwell is Maxwell. And then they say that they have been duped. And then Fran sticks up for Niles here. And Fran says, "I like to know when the last time you've seen a boss go through such lengths for his butler and make such a complete and utter fool out of himself." And then the two men talk to each other and they say, "Well, I guess the nanny has a point here." And
They also need the fines,
yep,
the dues.
the dues. So they say, "Okay, you can come back into the Professional Butler Association. We'll still accept you." All thanks to Fran.
Yeah, she saves the day here.
She saved it after Cece came in and destroyed everything.
We have a lot of like everyone. You have, Niles stepping in to help. Then you have Max stepping in to help, and now Fran's kind of returning the favor for everyone
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah, that's true. So it's really like rather touching that everybody stepped in at a certain moment to help each other.
yeah. So then after this, we have the butlers. The butlers leave when they decide to keep Niles in the group, and then they have to leave. But then they say, "Oh, we'll see ourselves out. After all, we are butlers. We know where the door is." So they don't need to be walked out.
They can walk themselves out.
Yeah, since they know where the door is.
They're butlers.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was a little funny joke they threw in there. So
And no one opened the door for them. They opened it themselves.
yeah, because they're professionals at it.
Yep.
Professional.
Butler Association. So then our whole episode ends with Cece asking Maxwell, "Hey, did you get that big gift basket full of caviar from Lauren at the theater? She's been asking about it." And then Fran and Niles know that they're in trouble because they ate the caviar.
Yes, they splurged on it.
And that's the end.
And that is the conclusion of the episode.
That was probably the best episode to date, I think. It was just so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the whole chaos, the playing around of all these different roles it was definitely a knee slapper.
It was. I LOL'd big time.
Yes.
So with that, I think we're ready for
The recap.
Let's put this all together. These moments are forever.
Niles could be a mouse killer.
Searching.
The Professional Butlers Association, they're coming.
Butlers Association.
They're there to inspect Niles. They're coming over.
We're butlers after all.
Fran has a day off again.
Vacation.
Max is taking the kids to the museum to celebrate Brighton winning a school election.
Getting cultured.
Sylvia brings Marsha and Jack over the house.
To show them up.
3,800 or
38,000.
square feet. Sylvia has Fran go along with the lie about herself.
The lie ensues.
Fran is married to Maxwell. She shares 3 kids with him and has a mansion and a butler. For
Truth.
a moment. Yep, for a moment. Niles gets roped into supporting the lie by becoming Mr. Sheffield himself.
Yes. Duped into the ever-growing lie.
Yes. The 2 men from the Professional Butler Association, they come in to observe Niles to catch him.
Unannounced.
And the butler has a day off.
So he thought.
Then Maxwell comes in and gets roped into supporting both Niles and Fran by acting like he is Niles.
Taking in more people.
Maxwell is bad at being a butler, but he's trying.
He refuses.
Brighton is exposed for lying about winning the election.
A fraud.
Fraud. Fran comes clean about her own lie and announces that she's just the nanny.
Trying to clean her hands.
Despite craziness, Niles is accepted to the Professional Butlers Association.
Oh, sweet relief.
Cece comes in and ruins the whole thing for Niles.
Oh, ruin her.
Niles is out of the Professional Butlers Association.
For a second. Before he's come back in.
And then Fran convinces them to keep Niles in the association.
Quick-witted.
And the association needs money.
They could always take in more money.
Dues. And Fran and Niles are exposed for eating caviar.
Indulging in that sweet caviar.
And that's our recap.
That is it.
That was a really great one.
Indeed it was.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us yet again for another episode of A Fine Podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. We had a ton of fun. This was a great episode to go over, so we hope to see you next week.
We really hope so. And please let us know what you thought about this episode. Follow us on Facebook, X, YouTube,
Instagram.
all platforms, TikTok. We'd love to see you there, and we can't wait for next time.
See you later.
Goodbye.